I know when I've been, maybe touring or working on other stuff for too long, when I enjoy going to Costco. That's a warning sign that my wife's like, oh man, we got to go to Costco. And I'm like, you know what? Costco sounds really good. Because it's just.
Welcome to Gritty History, a podcast from the City of Hamilton and Hamilton Civic Museums, taking you beyond the physical museums and diving into the fascinating stories from the city's past and present. In this audio series, we'll explore the people and places that make Hamilton, Ontario so special. Our first series, Liner Notes, digs into the work of Hamilton music. My name is Meredith Leonard, and I'm a senior curator at Hamilton Civic Museums. Joining me for this series is Russ Piva, aka Stereo Russ, musician and host of Inside the Music with Stereo Russ. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's press play.
What does it take to make a music tour run smoothly? Who's involved in creating live music magic? Today we're joined by Joe Cacioppo, who's a partner, tour director, and tour manager at 410 Management, and Nathan Nash, a professional tour photographer and videographer who has worked with many artists including the Arkells, the Jonas Brothers, and Sum 41. With their extensive knowledge in live entertainment logistics and production, Joe and Nate sit down with us today at CFMU Studios to talk all things touring and how someone can plan their own journey within the music industry. Joe and Nate, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Very
This was
excited.
great.
In doing a lot of the research for this exhibition, I've learned that career paths in music are diverse and rarely linear. Could you both tell us a little bit how you got into your respective lines of work?
Yeah, Joe, you go first.
Yeah, I started out as I think a lot of my colleagues have, as some form of musician. They played an instrument. Mine was guitar. It turns out over time I've learned that I'm terrible at the instrument and I'm much better at management. I was always that person in our band to make the arrangements for our rehearsals, book the gigs, collect the money, the organized one in the camp. And then from there, really, as we started making my path, I learned what a tour management was once we started playing bigger shows. And that's what I want to do. I had a great mentor, Denton Fraser. At the time, he was managing our band in Sam Roberts at the time. And I just asked him 1,000 questions. From there, I learned about a certificate program that is now, I think, at CMI. And it was like an 8 or 10 week course, a bit of a crash course in touring. I did that, and following that, I found a gig 2 weeks after that and landed myself in an RV with a jazz fusion band, Garage Mahal. Check them out. They're amazing. Played a lot of universities and colleges. And yeah, it's just been hitting the ground running from then.
And Nate?
For me, in the music photography world, definitely like my passion for those two things were always separate. And I enjoyed photography, loved going to shows and that. And there was just times when I used to go to a whole bunch of shows, I would always, thinking back in high school, I would always bring in like a disposable camera and just shoot and see whatever I get, and it was just fun and didn't take it too seriously. But then as I started taking photography more seriously, and I started going to like outdoor festivals and things like that, and I'd bring a camera and just see what I can get. Outdoor festivals are great for that because there's no security, so like they don't stop you for bringing in like a higher level professional camera. So that's a good place to start, I would say. And then particularly there was an Arkells show. This would have been back in 2015. They were playing at Jackson Triggs Winery, and I knew like that. It maybe has changed now. This is 2015. This is 10 years ago now. At the time, security was kind of lax, so I brought in my SLR camera and took some pictures from my seat. I just did it from my seat. I wasn't a nuisance. I wasn't running around or anything. And then just posted those pictures on Twitter, and Max reached out and was like, he shared them, like retweeted, and then he messaged and was like, "Do you have any more?" was like, yeah. So I edited the whole set of photos, sent it to him. Then they posted a bunch on their socials. And then the following year, 2016, they were playing the same Jackson Trigg summer concert series. And Max invited me out to shoot the show officially. I think at the time they were doing like a contest in general about like I don't know how you entered. I forget the details of it, but it was essentially like, if you want to come shoot our show, like let us know what show you're going to be at, and then you can. And so I think it just lined up like. And so he invited me out. And that was, 2016 that I shot my first show in like an official capacity. And then from there, I had like a bit of a rapport, an established relationship with the band and management. And then what I would do is just like badger them. Maybe not badger, that's a strong word. But but there's a show coming up that was local enough that like, okay, I can get myself to and from there driving. Then I would reach out and be like, hey, do you have anybody shooting the show? Hey, do you need somebody to shoot the show? And I would just ask. And like I got a lot of no's. Like they were like, no, we already have somebody, but thank you. So you just shoot your shot and go, okay. No, the worst they say is no. That's fine. And so eventually I would just keep asking, and sometimes they would say yes. And then it was like, then they did the big show at COPS, First Ontario Center, now TD Arena, I think.
Coliseum.
TD
They went back to
yeah.
the Coliseum.
That's right. TD Arena is something else. That was a big show for them. And same thing, I reached out and they were like, yeah, come shoot that show. And that was a big show. And the more and more I asked them, the more experience I gained, the more rapport and working relationship I established with them. And then eventually they started asking me. And the roles changed in that way.
It's so interesting. You sort of like looking at where you're both sitting now, it's like you've arrived, you did all these things, but like there's a lot of hustle that goes into getting there, right? And so you sort of like respect all of those times where like people said no or not now, and you sort of like were like kept at it and stayed persistent. And that sort of really was part of the journey, which is just really interesting to hear.
Yeah, I think it's really important that you show up and that you try to engage with as many people as possible, and not in a negative way, but no one's thinking about you. And they may not know that they need you just yet. And, in this case, obviously like the stars aligned and the timing happened where, the script flipped. They're like, oh, he's extremely valuable. And there's that process of proving yourself that you do have the knowledge and the skill in that particular area.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about being top of mind as well.
Yeah, I fully believe that. Like, in no way do I feel like I am like the best music photographer, videographer out there. There are plenty just in Hamilton that are better than me. But it's just like, well, if you just show up and then make yourself known and reach out, don't be afraid to shoot your shot. Yeah, that's it.
What makes a good band photographer?
The number one, in my personal opinion, is speed. How fast can you give them results? Because in the age of social, the speed's the key. And it's like the faster you can get somebody content, the better. I think two, you have to like be, how do I describe this? You have to like, I was going to say feel the music. That sounds so lame. That's not what I mean. But you have to, I would, because part of it is it helps if you know the songs, so you know the moments, so you can anticipate something's going to happen here. But however, I've been in situations working for bands or shooting an artist that I don't necessarily know all the songs. I try my best to, but sometimes you end up shooting something and you don't have a chance to like know the whole catalog or anything like that. But it helps to, if you just sometimes you just know that like, oh, there's probably a guitar solo coming up. So I'm going to position myself over here. So you have to kind of like know music. Maybe that's the easiest way to put it. Like you have to kind of know so you can anticipate some of those things, which helps. So I think that's a good component. Like,
Can I add being stealth?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, 100%. Like every artist is going to have different rules on where you can be, and whether that's on stage or in the pit or elsewhere, or even like behind the scenes, like in the dressing room and change room, green room areas. Like, and so you have to have a good understanding from management or the tour manager of like, what are the boundaries? Where can I go? Where should I not go? And then in addition to let's say you do have the opportunity to shoot from stage, which is great. I love being able to shoot from stage because you're getting a really interesting perspective that the audience doesn't always get a chance to see. But knowing like, okay, where can I go and like not be easily seen? You need to be in stage blacks. You need to be stealth. You need to be hidden as much as possible, because it's like, regardless, as much as the content is important, it's good for the marketing of the band. It's good for the marketing of the tours and all that. You're still like, the primary goal of that night is the live show, and it's for the audience that's there. And so you don't want to be sticking as like a sore thumb. Now, sometimes, like, you know, with Arkells, like Max will literally physically pull me onto the front of the catwalk and do that. And that's fine, because it's like there's a mutual understanding.
There's a play involved.
There's a play involved, absolutely. And it's something that he wants, and that's great. But other than that, it's like, go. If you have to stand up high or go on the drum rise or things like that, get your shot, get your stuff, and then get back down. And then hide. So yes, stealth is key. But for me, still number one is like speed. And I think that's one of the things, the value that, you know, you're saying, Joe, like trying to find what's your value, what like to make people realize like, oh, I want to keep you around. For me, I think that has been my value personally, is like, I feel like I can turn things around very quickly. And like right after a show, that's what I'm doing. I go in the green room, grab a slice of pizza, usually this pizza, and sit and edit. And that's what I'm doing.
If you're enjoying this conversation, you might want to check out the Punching In exhibition, which explores the work of Hamilton's music scene, on display at the Visitor Experience Center, located at 28 James Street North, throughout 2026. Now, back to our conversation.
If I want to start taking pro quality photos at my friends' shows, what lens am I buying?
I could say like, oh, it depends, and it's probably true, because if it's a friend show, it's probably a smaller venue, and like, are you going to get on stage? Things are probably tight, so I would be like, get a nice wide lens, get like if you can get like a 14 to 24 millimeter, like shoot nice and wide, that'd be, because it can make some really cool shots, and make things look sort of larger than life and things like that. One of my favorite lenses to shoot with when I was first getting started is get like, because a 14 to 24, they can get super pricey. So like maybe get a prime lens.
Means one that doesn't have a zoom on it.
One that doesn't have a zoom on it. So get like a 35 or a 50. I started with a 50 millimeter. And
the nifty 50.
The nifty 50, yeah, 100%. And that holds true for sure with concert photography as well. And like for me, like shoot wide open in terms of that's your f-stop value. So we're getting super into technical. Shoot at 1.8, shoot nice and wide like that, wide aperture. And just have some fun, because you want the wide aperture, because it's probably a low light environment, so you want as much light in as possible. It creates a shallow depth of field, so that's really fun. You get some really interesting shots. And 100%, yeah, the 50 was like, that was my learning lens. When I was taking photography more seriously, I loved learning and practicing on my 50 as opposed to a zoom lens, because that made me really focus on how I'm setting up my shot. And what I mean by that is like quite literally what's in my shot. How am I framing it? And what position do I have to physically be in to get the frame that I want? And so that really has a lot to do with like, even I don't think about it this way, but probably in helping me knowing like where to be to get a good shot. And so because on a 50 you can't change your perspective, right? Like you
can't zoom in.
You can't
the
zoom in.
Is your legs.
You can't zoom. Yeah. You can't zoom in. You can't zoom out. And so it's literally like, okay, if I want this to look like this, where do I need to go to do it? And so that helped me like focus on, how am I framing? Where do I need to go? And then eventually I felt like I graduated to using zoom lenses, because then that's for me, learning on a prime is what I think made a difference. If it's a live band, shoot behind the drummer. Like get the perspective, get behind the drummer and shoot. And like, that's what I would say.
And be stealth about it.
And be stealth about it. Yeah.
Can you guys kind of like walk us through what it means to be a TM or a tour manager or manage a tour in general?
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of our work begins ahead of the tour. We are spending weeks and months ahead of these tours planning. And there's different elements. A tour manager's responsibilities could vary depending on the act. For myself, really, we spent, like I said, we spent weeks and months planning in advance, and you can only plan so much until you wake up that morning, and you wake up in the bus. What my day looks like is I wake up, I have a coffee, several of them, alone before anybody wakes up. I'm the first one awake always. And just going through the day mentally in my mind. Typically on tour, when traveling with the tour bus, it's a bit like Groundhog Day, where your breakfast and meal times will land at the same times every day. Your sound checks will land at the same time every day. Load in time, show times, etc. And it's being prepared enough so that all of the happenings are happening that you've planned, and that you have the mental capacity and the ability to catch the balls before they fall, to be ready for any unforeseen challenges that may arise, whether that be transport related, weather related, personnel related. And I think that if I can just add a piece of importance, I think that a calm demeanor and a solution-oriented approach is almost a requirement to be able to handle the level of challenges that'll come at you in any given day. So with that, every day is just a wee bit different, even though it's the same.
From my view, because it's slightly different. Because with Joe being a TM and I'm like just staff, and so Joe walks in to a venue, and he's already have like stuff he's got to do, check off the list. Are things happening? Are things on time? Things like that. And then I wake up in the morning and get off the bus, and I walk in the venue, and I'm like, okay,
where's catering?
Usually that's usually question 2. First question for me is like, okay, where's my green room? And I don't get a personal.
Where's
green
my
room.
personal?
Yeah. Where's the photographer's green room? Yeah. So like, where am I setting up for the day? Because I gotta throw down all my gear. I gotta charge batteries. I gotta get my computer set up so I can get back to editing. And so I set that up, and then where's catering? And so it's gotta get some breakfast, gotta get coffee, and then I go sit on my computer and edit away. But it is that like, so typically I would be waking up and being like, all right, if Joe's my TM, I look for Joe, and if the signage isn't up already, because like, there's so many intricacies that go into the TM thing that you don't like. So I'm totally stealing Joe's answer.
I love this.
One of the things.
You know what? It's nice that these acknowledgments are happening, because sometimes we feel that the work that we're doing, like, no news is usually good news for us. So if the tour is running and people know where they're going, that they're fed, the schedule's happening on time, like it's all running, then we've done the thing that we've done. And I think very well at that. But please continue. I'd love to hear more.
Well, it's just so when you walk into a venue, and let's say it's like an arena, and when you're in the guts of an arena, they all kind of look the same. Like, to be honest, they all kind of do. It's just a big circle, and so that's one thing that's always great. If you just keep walking, you're going to end up back where you came from, so you won't get too lost. However, when there's all a whole bunch of rooms, there's change rooms, there's dressing rooms, there's green rooms, there's production offices, there's catering, there's all this stuff. The best thing that can happen is when I get off the tour bus and I walk into the main entry, is there's signage, and it's usually branded for the tour because that's how great these guys are. And there's a main like legend. I don't know what you would call it, but in my mind, it's the legend big giant sign that'll be like dressing rooms this way, catering that way, bathrooms this way, and it's all that stuff. And then as you're walking along, there'll be a signage like if this is your change room, it'll be like band dressing room, green room, catering. And so this is all the stuff that he has to do way before anybody is even like up. And so that's the best one. I can walk in there, and if I can direct myself to where I need to go first thing in the morning, it's amazing. Otherwise, I'm chasing Joe down, going like, Joe, where do I go? What's my room? Like,
well, again, if we've done our job correctly, we want to answer as least amount of questions as absolutely possible that day. When you show up, where am I parking my vehicle? Where am I loading my things in? Do we have food that day? If so, what time is that happening? And is there a green room? Are there any support acts with us that day? Are there any rules or restrictions we should know about the local crew? Is it union? Is it not? What does the security look like? What's the experience for the patrons? Again, I'm going to get into the minutiae here a bit, but like even talking about security, you're really drilling down and getting very, very specific about the details. What's the experience like for that patron when they arrive? Are they going through MAG? Are they being wanded? Are there bag searches? What size of bag are we allowing in today? Once they're in the building, where are all my security posts? How many of them are there? How many of them are medically trained? What are your protocols if something bad were to happen? What are your protocols on weather? What time are doors opening? When is this all taking place? So like we really drill down in every single department. You know, when you're communicating, again, starting from the top of the day, our bus drivers, when they show up, I don't want them to wake me up at 5 a.m. to say, Joe, where are we parking? I'll give them a parking map, and I will physically draw where I want their buses are and number them accordingly. So they see exactly, they pull in, is there shore power, or are they running the generator that day? Is there going to be fencing and barricade around that? And in production, you know, like that's a whole other beast on the other side, which is typically a production manager. But sometimes on specific tours, the tour manager may also take the role as a production manager, in which case you'd want to know things in an arena. What's the grid look like? Where am I hanging my rigging? How many local crew are there?
how do you determine how much local crew you need? How much is a crew touring with you, and how much are you're relying on the touring crews?
Depending on the size of the tour, you know, a van and trailer tour, for example, if you're playing clubs, you know, you're going to get likely one or two audio techs. You're going to get one lighting tech. You might have to bring in a couple of loaders, a couple of people to help push the gear in and out. And on the arena level, it's really dependent on the level of design, or even like, you know, large theaters. It depends on how big the show is. How much stuff is the tour carrying? The tour will always usually carry the operators. So the people who are physically operating the show, whether that be your front of house engineers, your monitor engineers, your, you know, lighting directors, your video directors, et cetera. And again, depending on the scale, if it's the arena level, you're going to be traveling with people who are doing RF coordination, which is the just frequencies. That's what they're doing all day for all the wireless microphones and guitar packs and et cetera. You might be traveling with, if you're traveling with the PA, then you need PA and system techs. So those are additional positions that you'll need. And this is on the touring level. And then you need help putting it all up and down every day. Typically, we're loading in a 4 or 5 hour window. So you have to do this very quickly, which usually requires a large number of staff to help you get it up and down. So a long-winded answer, but it really depends on the size of the show that you're bringing to the venue, really. But I will say that the tours rely heavily on qualified and skilled local labor in various departments, and that it doesn't happen without a group effort.
For one of your bigger tours, how many people would be on a crew?
That would vary, but I would say if we're going to include all support touring personnel, the bands, and if management travels as well, you could be upwards of, we're planning a tour for next year, and I think our count is at 32 right now. So 32 to 40, I would say.
So generally speaking, like what are some skills, like fundamental skills that people who work on tours have?
I'm looking for somebody who, again, has the skill to do the work, and that is a team player. Typically in Canadian touring, it's an all-for-one mentality.
Yeah.
You almost need a general knowledge. Like you'll have a specific skill, and
whether that's like audio production
or lighting or video or whatnot. But I've always appreciated a team player that's willing to get in to other departments or help other people or just ask. I'm just thinking of a specific individual right now. He's known as Rooster.
It's me. No.
But he was a support. He was our L3, which is the third lighting position. And
by the way, a lot of interesting nicknames in touring.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah. But Rooster on his own, knowing that like his responsibility was to get the show up and down. He had, in addition to lighting, he had some knowledge on video and how to build a video wall, how the power requirements and signal path works. So he had some knowledge there. But what I actually appreciated the most about him, not so much, I certainly appreciate his skill set. But I would often see him bringing beverages or water and like light snacks for the operators of the show, and that was not something that anybody had asked him to do. I asked him. It was like a week or two into the tour, and I said, "Hey, dude, where are you going with that?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just going to bring this over to Vinny and to the guys at front of house and just make sure that they got something for the show." I'm like, "Do you do this every day?" He's like, "Every day." I'm like, "You're a dude. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for looking after them." So that's, for me, it's like in addition to the skill set, it's that team player and just, we're all looking after each other.
Yeah, just being kind.
Yeah.
Well, like unlike other jobs where like you are literally working and living and traveling and with these folks all the time. And that could mean like really awesome travel days. Maybe you have a day off and maybe you get to do some touristy kind of stuff and it's really fun to do those stuff together. Or maybe it's like a really crappy travel day and things go wrong and flights get delayed. And so you're put in so many situations that, like, hate to use the lame term of family, but like usually you only experience those things with family and maybe, very close friends. And so, but to have that in a working environment is very different. And so I think that's where having that all for one mentality is what you really need.
Yeah. Well, and I guess like for things that we were looking for, like you need to be adaptable. The environment changes often. And just having the mentality of just being able to roll with it sometimes, understanding that the job that we have to do, it's very specific, but being somewhat flexible, especially, and patience, by the way, for those days that the tour manager is dealing with flight delays and everything's going sideways is always appreciated.
Yes. Yeah. I whenever I need to speak to the tour manager, for any particular reason, have a quick question or something like that. Whenever I walk into the production office, one, I just get a sense, what's the vibe? And then two, I always ask, do you have ears? Because if you don't have ears, my question's not important, and I will hold this until it's time when you are ready. Because,
that's good. Yeah.
Because usually there's something way bigger and more important to deal with that is on top of mind for them.
That's good because like in music, you're working with so many different people, and you're focused on my guitar's out of tune. I got to find a tuner, and it's like, look, there is a meltdown half a kilometer away that I'm dealing with. I like that. I might have a stupid question regarding like, hey, can I stand on this place to get a picture? Which is so not important. But it's important to me. It feels important, but it's like in the grand scheme of things, not important. And that's why I always be like, do you have yours? Is now a good time? No worries. I'll talk to you after.
But I think that level of awareness, and if you want to combine that with empathy, because if somebody's not having a great day, let's not assume that we know what's going on. I also want to recognize that I'm probably not going to ask that question while somebody's walking underneath the stage trying to plug things in or troubleshoot a problem. Maybe my question could also wait because they're going to feel my presence be like, dude, can you just give me 5 or 10? Like what?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I know being in an industry definitely impacts the way you experience it as a consumer. Like if I go to an art gallery, I'm like, how did they hang this? Like what kind of hardware did they use? So if you're at a music event, what do you look for? Are there like certain things that are like indicators of like, oh yeah, these guys run a good tour, or ooh, this looks like trouble?
The best way I could relate to that is as a musician, I think that when you learn to play an instrument, you start hearing music differently. The separation of instruments within a recording, you start to listen to it that way, and it's hard to listen to it as a whole. At least for me.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yep.
So I feel the same way about concerts and shows. I start to think about how does it all function? How does it all work? Nerdy things like what's the cable management like up in here?
I start to think about that. When a show looks clean, I'm like, oh, these guys know what they're doing.
Can I ask you a question? Because I think you were there. Did you go see Paul McCartney the other day?
I did get to see Paul McCartney.
What happened to the video wall on that hydraulic lift?
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Sure was.
For a split second, I was like, I was in the nosebleeds, so like I didn't have some cool insider thing. I got tickets like through Ticketmaster like everybody else. And like when that went up, I was for a second because I was so high, I couldn't tell. I was like, is he floating? What is happening?
Can you give us some context for those that weren't there?
Sorry. So
of course,
Paul McCartney did the grand opening at TD.
Who's Paul McCartney? That's what I...
Oh, you're joking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
This is over. Just kidding.
Throw the microphone.
He did the grand opening at TD Coliseum last week or the week prior, and it was a spectacle. I mean, his production team had used, I will say, almost every trick in the book. Very modern technology was used. And the moment we're discussing right now, there's a moment where there's a thrust, which is an extension of the front of the stage, where Paul went to play solo. The main stage was dark, and the entire stage on hydraulic lifted up to the 100 level. I would say about 20 or 30 feet in the air. It was incredible. And as it was going up, the sides or the walls underneath that playing space, the stage that had risen, ended up being a video wall all the way around. With
so it was just this wild, seamless. Everything was just like, yeah. The other thing that caught my eye, because I couldn't figure it out, when he first brought out the little piece. This is an example of what we think about.
We're in it.
When we go to live shows, is when he brought out the B piano.
The upright?
The upright, yeah. So this is where my knowledge of tour stuff is like lacking. But that would probably be B piano, right? If you were like, because your A piano would be the grand piano. But then he has a little like upright that he played. I was looking at the front, and when he first came out, and it looked like wood, like a back of an old upright piano.
I love that you noticed this.
Yes, but it was like black and white, and I was like, did they paint it? What is going on? Like it looked like Paul. Like and I'm watching it live. I'm looking at the screen because I'm up high, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? How did they paint the back of this piano so that it looks like it's black and white, but it's wood. What is going on? Turned out that was also a screen. And that changed. And then it changed into some other colorful thing later
It starts
on.
going, it starts like it changed into, well, they actually made it look like the painting of the piano blended into the video. So,
Wow.
Yeah,
And
it was
crazy. And I think for me, it was like the definition on those screens on the piano. I was just like, wow. Like it looked like it had literally fooled me thinking that's actually wood and they painted it in some interesting way.
Yeah.
Like and even on the iMags, which are like the big screens on the side, the definition on, I mean, you said this already, that the production quality was wild.
I guess this is a perfect example of we can enjoy a show
You actually
fully.
might enjoy it even further.
Well, I really do.
It's a
with
weird,
great
but
production.
mix, I don't know.
Honestly,
I don't know.
my wife has to tell me to shut up because she's like, just let me enjoy it. Don't tell me what's coming. You know, I was like, oh, you see those big tubes down there? There's going to be some massive confetti at the end of the show. She's like, oh, why'd
You
you?
ruined it.
You know? But yeah, like I love the things like how clean the work is.
Yes.
Those are my observations are, I guess, using Paul's show as an example. You know, they had a ton of pyro also at the show, and the way the boxes were built to the height and the way the cables are all tucked up in a nice little, like all tied together, all seamlessly, like you don't even see it. The work is so clean, you know, and the way the automation works. So if you've ever seen, lighting or video in the ceiling, and it's moving as
As the music goes?
as the show is playing, and that allows you different looks. So just the different departments, the level of productions, I start to think about things like how many trucks would it take to put all this stuff in here?
How many trucks?
What are they? I don't know. My guess would be, I would say 25 to 30.
Just those video walls alone, my goodness.
The video alone, whether or not they're traveling with the staging. Yeah, so I guess a very long-winded answer to that is yes, I love shows. That's still why I continue to do it, but I definitely see it in a different way, and I enjoy it in a different way now.
If you're enjoying this conversation, you might want to check out the Punching In exhibition, which explores the work of Hamilton's music scene, on display at the Visitor Experience Center, located at 28 James Street North, throughout 2026. Now, back to our conversation. The value of content creation on tour, like why is that important? Sort of what extra does that bring to the tour, and how does that help the tour sort of live on beyond the one event?
I said earlier that like, the whole point of the show is for the people that bought tickets, is for the live show. But I've also heard that there is I don't know if I fully prescribe to this thought, but the one idea is that you could perform in an arena in front of 10,000 people, but that content could actually go in front of 100,000 people. And so the value of content. And so, but I don't necessarily think it's not a 1-to-1 ratio with like an engaged fan buying a ticket is not the same as somebody scrolling past something. So that's probably my personal perspective on it. It's very interesting. And even when even the difference of value on content has changed since I started, because I truthfully started just doing photos. And I can distinctly remember the first time I was asked to shoot video. And this was also like part of my own mentality of like how to prepare for a show or something like this, a shoot. I'm always like, bring everything, bring all your gear, bring every single piece of equipment you own, because I always want to be prepared in case, because I never know what I'm going to get asked to do. You never know what's going to happen. And the worst thing for me is feeling ill prepared. That's the last thing I want to happen. And I distinctly remember the first time I was asked like, hey, can you shoot video tonight? And I was like, what? Like I was like, I'm not a video guy.
Especially since you've established yourself, maybe even emotionally, like this is the quality of work I can do in photo, and now you're like, can I match that?
Well, that's 100% what it is. Because even thinking like, can I shoot video? Like, have I shot video in my life? Absolutely, I have. Have I shot it in a concert environment? No. Have I shot it from stage where there's LED lights pointing into the thing? No. There's so many things that I'm like, I'm not technically prepared for this. And same thing of like, yeah, my skill level is probably not there yet. And so that's the first thing I said to the artist is like, listen, I can do this. So you have it. It's probably going to be quite bad, but I'll do it. We'll try it. Let's see what happens. But that just goes to say of like how much it has changed. And now, typically, I mean, again, it depends on the artist, depends on what they're looking for the given show. But usually now I'm shooting more video than I am photo. Yeah. And so because the way the algorithms work on the social channels and things like that it favors video. TikTok being the big platform right now, and it's all video focused, and so it is that way of the artist to. It plays so much into not only marketing the tours but just the entire marketing is based on socials and stuff. And so depending on the artist, like the live component, I mean, live is such a big part of how an artist makes a living. And so having that content to market and even for the future, like, what you're shooting on a live show today can be used for next year's tour because you just,
or even
it.
beyond, like if it just got me thinking about the Tragically Hip's most recently documentary and the amount of incredible footage that was captured both behind the scenes and on stage. There's some like pretty incredible moments that that took place that are pretty dramatic and impactful. So yes, while there's absolutely a promotional aspect to it, the artists, will look back on footage or may, like a decade, 2 decades down the road, depending on their career. And I think it's extremely valuable and important. And from my perspective, we're always looking for like that's a seat on the bus now, and just as important as any one of the other crew members. So the incredible value that brings, because also you're displaying the show, but in a way. In a promotional aspect for socials, you're giving like little snippets of what people can expect. If you have a ticket for the show, you're like, oh, I can't wait to, and or like maybe wanting to show like the level of production, like that they can expect, or maybe it's using as B-roll while some like on sale is happening, or there's just so many different ways. So we are in 2025, rolling into 2026, and it's like it's one of the most important things as we capture people's attention 10 seconds at a time.
But even like sometimes a production team will reach out. Maybe they're working on the next tour, and they'll reach out and be like, "Hey, do you have photos and video of like this point in the show? We want to remember what we did or what was happening." And so
remember that time that so and so did this?
Archival.
There's archival stuff.
Archival
like,
footage.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like I even think about like. This is very Arkells specific, but for the rally this year, I can't remember what it was, but there was something that Arkells TM and colleague of mine and Joe, Eric, he needed to refer to something. I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't quite production. It might have been more like how they set something up at the stadium. And he's like, I think he knew what he wanted, but he needed to give that to the promoter. And it was much easier for him to be like, can you send me a photo of this so that I could just show him? And then that's what we did.
Yeah. And as someone who like bread and butter is in like archives and history and documentation, y'all are helping future me when we're looking to do this exhibit in 25 years, right? Because there's so much richness to the content that's being created now. We'll have like a treasure trove of archive to use in the future. So Thank you. You're both based in Hamilton, but you work across the country and across the world. So you've got a really great view of music across different spaces and places. So I'm wondering, in your opinions, what's unique and special about Hamilton's music community?
I think Hamilton's pretty fortunate in a lot of ways. One being its location between the U.S. and Toronto. And so what that means is it's actually pretty easy for like artists to like fit Hamilton in on their tour path. And I think we are fortunate to have, now that the arena is done, to have a large scale venue like that, so we can get some larger names come through the city. And I would also hope that that there's going to be some spill off from that as we are attracting like bigger names, then maybe it creates a more viable live music industry in the city, and then that will also make smaller venues more viable as well, so that maybe there are other places for shows to come through.
I mean, it's definitely changed for me.
Yeah.
As a playing in a band when I was a kid here, there seemed to be like a ton of places to play. You know, between Casbah and Absinthe and this ain't Hollywood. I mean, there's a number of places you could play all the time. Even when we did like cover gigs, there was like a lot of places like Frisco's. I don't even know if that's even around anymore, but like places like that just to play. Like, I wonder if the appetite for live music is still the same as it was then. I don't know, to be honest. I do think it's incredible that the arena got a major facelift and is attracting large names. And I think that for the arena specifically, it was almost like shadowed by the big giant of Toronto and what acts could be played there. It's awesome to see that they're now including that Hamilton in the routing. I think it's going to help the city a ton. And I mean, our tour we have coming next year with the Guess Who. We'll be playing Scotiabank in Toronto, and 2 days later we're here at TD. Hamilton, for me, it's always been very, very supportive. Anybody, there is such a deep love, and there's a ton of great talent here, musicians and crew. It's actually amazing that there's more people who are crew and others working in the industry here than I knew about.
Yeah.
I would say even on the content side, like it's kind of sounds niche to be like, oh, like a music photographer, videographer, but like just in Hamilton, I know multiple that like work for great artists and that. So like it's there is a scene, and maybe feels a bit uncovered, or feels a bit covered up, but like maybe we need to uncover it a little bit more. I don't know.
That's why we're here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think maybe to kind of like round this whole conversation up, you talked about like grassroots, like where are the venues and where the bands, and I think that another thing you said is it's like if you build it, they will come. So if you're a photographer out there, a videographer, like go and shoot your friends' bands.
100%. Oh my gosh.
If you are inspired by this conversation, maybe start a mini tour, right? Like, get into it. Like it can be done if you build like some sort of Hamilton tour. I don't know. If you build it and promote it, I think, and you build buzz, people will show up.
Yeah.
Honestly, what you've just described is exactly what I did. Because I didn't know how to tour. I bought a GMC Safari van, forest green. It was amazing.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. And I did exactly that. I would route a Thursday to Sunday. It would all be in Hamilton or surrounding areas. Maybe we're playing in Burlington. Maybe we're playing, down wherever it was. But that I started to use that and carve out a path. If there's musicians or bands listening and trying to figure out how do I expand, there is an incredible amount of information available within the listening platforms where you can geo-target where your audience is, like who's listening from where and how many of them are there. And you can just spiral out from those areas. I think it's very important to also be ready to tour. And by that, I mean, have a show prepared.
Yeah.
Plan the moments in your show.
The bits.
The bits.
You need bits.
Your intro.
Like a stand-up comedian, right? You need
a
your
little bit.
punchline.
Are you going to walk up on stage and start tuning your guitar, or is it going to be already tuned and you're ready to play?
Yeah.
It's being ready, and play. Honing in that show, honing in your talent, and being able to take that show on the road.
Something I've always been curious about. What's the hardest part of a tour? Is it the beginning of the tour, the middle of the tour, or near the end?
In my opinion, the hardest is the end. And the reason I say that, not because, it's ending, it's wrapping up, and maybe we have feels and, we had a good run and blah, blah, blah. No. Do you know why? Because when it's the end of the tour, that's when you are you're firing on all cylinders. Everything is running like a well-oiled machine. And so it sucks so much when you're hitting that level and then it's done. Because then you're like, oh man, if we and it could be a very long tour and maybe you're all exhausted and you're like, oh, I can't wait for this to be over. No, when things are running the way it should be, the way you sort of envisioned, the way it planned out, and everybody is hitting their marks, everybody's doing what they need to do, that's when you're like, oh, I actually don't want this to end yet because we are doing so good. We are hitting everything so good. So to me, that's when it's hardest. That's when it feels like on every tour, you hit that. Every tour I've been on, you hit that point where you're like, oh my God, why is this ending? Because we are actually hitting such a good run.
Joe?
I would say that it's all hard, but also very rewarding.
All of the above.
Honestly, just for different reasons, really, because it's like the hardest time, beginning. It's all for different reasons why things are hard. It's hard to get it up and going and catch that rhythm. Right. On our, in tour management, it's a ton of planning, just making sure that all the schedules and the timing and the deliveries and the people and it all just lines up and it gets dialed in. That is very hard to do. I would say the hardest part about the middle is keeping the energy and keeping that rhythm and making sure that you have while you're firing on all cylinders and the show is the most important thing that day, that you're also finding time for yourself, that you have breaks, that you can separate yourself from it so that you're taking care of yourself. I think, at least for me, the hardest thing to do on the tour is take care of myself because I'm so busy looking after everybody else. And the end of the tour, I find very difficult, not in logisticals, because once all the gear and all the equipment and the buses and everybody's back home, it's because you are firing on all cylinders. It's, at least for me, I have 2 little ones at home and a very supportive family, and my wife and the kids, is not having any sort of off-ramp or decompression time. Usually it comes crashing down, at the end, where it's like mentally that is, that I'm getting off the tour bus and now I'm catching the rhythm of making lunch in the morning and home life, So before the kids, my wife would give me a couple of days to just mellow out and chill. But
you can't do that.
That is because the kids are and I'm so excited to see them also every time.
Mm.
But at least I think it's all difficult, but also very, very rewarding all at the same time.
That's one thing that you're just like, oh, I kind of I know when I've been, maybe touring or working on other stuff for too long, when I enjoy going to Costco, that's a warning sign that my wife's like, oh man, we got to go to Costco. And I'm like, you know what? Costco sounds really good because it's just regular every day. And I'll leave Costco and on a good day, I don't like Costco, but when I leave Costco and I'm like, that was nice. We just had a really nice time together.
Honestly, yeah.
Just me and my wife going to Costco together.
What Hamilton music are y'all listening to? Are there anyone that's up and coming or sort of some old favorites, artists you'd like to hype?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a lot it's mostly focused around artists that I work with. So maybe it's a bit of research, maybe it's a bit of like that. That's the thing that I talk about knowing the songs and knowing when the moments are going to come.
There's a few folks I'm thinking of right now. And I just loved his development over the years is Brian Mello. And he's gone from the stuff he did on Idol many moons ago to, certainly a more family-focused man today.
Brian Mello, winner of the first Canadian Idol. Is that correct?
I think second.
Oh, second. Oh, but from a Hamilton guy. I remember watching, cheering him on.
And he's a beauty too.
Yeah.
The other, I think of a couple of their acts and, Tommy Swick's latest releases as well. Tommy and he's always been an incredible songwriter and has had some great success, but I've just always been a fan of Tommy. And most recently, I guess the newest Hamilton act, and I think they're from Hamilton, is the Wild High. Yeah.
They're Hamilton, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know them.
Yeah.
Oh.
They're parts of Monster Truck.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I've been really digging them lately too. So, plugs to all three of those.
On that note, Nate, Joe, thank you so much for taking time today.
Honestly, a ton of fun.
so
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
that was great.
Yeah, this has been
Appreciate
great.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Gritty History Podcast, brought to you by the City of Hamilton and Hamilton Civic Museums. This episode was hosted by Meredith Leonard and Russ Piva. Produced and edited by Stereo Russ Media. Original music by Emma Whale. This series' episodes were recorded at CFMU Studios at McMaster University, Catherine North Studios, and Bridgeworks. If you enjoyed listening, please share this podcast with someone who loves all things Hamilton and history. Please rate, review, and subscribe. If you'd like to explore more, you can visit us online at hamiltoncivicmuseums.ca. Thank you for listening.